Yeah, that's right, only 5 days to tax day. Helpful hint there.
You said April 15th, the whole time.
Yeah. So, but it's also spring, time for you to begin. I know it may not feel like spring today, but good news for your corner. All right, I'd like to ask for a reading of the Open Public Meetings Act statement,
Okay.
please.
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Pinelands Commission was given in compliance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act by providing notice to all municipal and county clerks within the Pinelands area and to the Secretary of State on December 18, 2014, and to the Commission's officially designated newspapers on December 18, 2014, and by posting a copy on the bulletin board in the Commission's office.
Thank you very much. Madam Director, call the roll.
Sure. Commissioner Ashman? Here. Commissioner Avery? Florida. Commissioner Barr?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Bella?
Here.
Commissioner Erlin?
Here.
Commissioner Galetta?
Here.
Commissioner General? Commissioner Lloyd?
Here.
Commissioner McGlinchey? Commissioner Prickett?
Here.
Commissioner Quinn? Commissioner Rowan Green? Commissioner Witt? Chairman Lover?
Here. Thank you. I'd like to ask you all to please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a special order of business this morning, so I think before we get into this production of minutes, we could ask for Deputy John to step forward and swear in our newest commissioner, Mr. Robert Carr.
You can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Robert Moore,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New
and
Jersey,
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same and to the governments established
to the same and to the governments established
in the United States and in this state,
in the United States and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office of Pinelands Commissioner,
all the duties of the office of Pinelands Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome, Commissioner Barr. Your name, welcome to the precinct.
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you to the other commissioners and the staff for being so welcoming. To the members of the public who I met this morning, thank you for welcoming me. It is quite the honor to be here. It is a unique honor and distinction. I'd like to thank the governor for nominating me and those who helped my nomination through. It was quite a journey, but it is now a clean slate. I come here with no preconceived notions or no ill will towards those who oppose my nomination. I am willing to work with all of you openly and honestly. If you have concerns, please come and see me. My door is always open. So with that, thank you, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Feel the same way. Okay, and with that, my colleagues have all received in their meeting packets copies of the minutes of the open and closed sessions of the March 13th, 2015 meeting. I'd like to publicly thank Vice Chairman Avery for chairing that meeting in my absence. May I hear a motion for the adoption of minutes?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of their adoption, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? All right, the minutes are adopted. All right, we'll move on to reports of committees. And I don't know if is there anyone here? We don't have Commissioner Avery. Is there anyone with a report for the Personnel and Budget Committee? Was there a meeting of the Personnel Committee? No. Okay, well that would explain it. Thank you. Okay. Pardon me. All right, and Commissioner Ashman, do you have anything?
No, I just would report that our first meeting of the MOA Review Committee will be the 24th of April,
24th of April? Okay,
after the
very good.
P&I meeting.
Okay, thank you, and thank you once again to all those who volunteered to serve on that committee. I do have a report of the Policy and Implementation Committee meeting. We met last on March 27th. We adopted minutes, both open and closed sessions, of our January 30th meeting. At that time, I announced the creation of the ad hoc committee that Commissioner Ashman just referenced. And we also reviewed and then recommended to this commission today that it conditionally approve the Franklin Township Ordinance 0-6-13, which is a comprehensive sign ordinance that is in your packets for action today on our agenda. The conditions require changeable message signs and light emitting diode signs be prohibited from the Pinelands area of the township, which includes only rural development and agricultural production areas. That is consistent with the CMP, and we encourage you to adopt that resolution. We also received a presentation on Black Run Watershed, an environmentally sensitive area in the rural development area of Evesham Township, whose protection was a recommendation of 2006 report of the Ford Plan Review Committee. Among the options are a rule proposal that would redesignate a 4,000-acre forest area in Evesham and Medford Townships, and an off-site clustering pilot program to direct development away from these ecologically valuable lands. The committee reviewed a schedule for a pilot program for special event. Oh, I should say we continued that matter to the next policy and implementation committee meeting, so we'll be reporting to him further on that. Then we reviewed a schedule for a pilot program for special events and expanded economic opportunities in the agricultural production area. Ms. Wittenberg will be providing an update on these efforts to State Senator Ray Lesniak, Chair of the Senate Economic Growth Committee, in June. So we won't be hearing anything more about that today unless the board has any update. And then finally, we also learned that the New Jersey Conservation Foundation has combined funds from a variety of other sources, allowing it to purchase a 475-acre portion of the Zemmel property in Woodland Township, the final remaining funds of our Pinelands Conservation Fund. The closing on that property is estimated to be next month. So happily, we have another 475-acre purchase that will allow us to come and preserve some land in Woodland Township. And that was the extent of the policy implementation. If anyone has any questions, comment of the commissioners, entertain. I see none. We'll move next. Oh, I'm sorry.
I do have
Commissioner
one
Gillette, yes.
comment.
Yes.
With the creation of the new agricultural committee,
Yes.
I did talk to Commissioner McGlinchey, and he wanted to know what the progress was. And I said, I believe Rick Prickett and Ed Lloyd volunteered and myself. Is that correct? For the agricultural committee, to subcommittee at the last P&I?
I said I was willing.
I thought you spoke.
Interested
I'm
in
not
being
sure.
part, yes.
But he wanted to know what the progress. He said he wouldn't be here today, so
Yeah.
I'd just like a little update on that.
Yeah, on the agriculture committee, we're still looking for a fifth and two alternates. So we have Mr. McGlinchey, Mr. Prickett, and Lloyd, yourself. Okay, we have a fifth. All right, so
Yourself as an alternate? or-
I could certainly serve as an alternate.
Let's get the-
Okay, well, that being the case, since we have five, I suppose we announce, much of the staff's chagrin, we'll muddle through, we'll find a way to deal with it, but let me say then now, I'm going to form another ad hoc committee that will have a focus on issues with regard to agriculture. This is something we've picked around for quite a long time. Commissioner McGlinchey revived the issue. We now have 5 commissioners that are willing to serve on that committee. I would serve as an alternate, and we'll find someone who will be a second alternate. But I will encourage Commissioner McGlinchey, who will chair that committee, to discuss privately with each of those commissioners who are serving on the committee to come up with a schedule of meetings, obviously also to include Director Wittenberg in that discussion, so we can get that scheduled and figure out something that can be adequately and as conveniently as possible worked in with the staff's requirements.
It's my understanding that this is a commission committee, correct? It's not an ad hoc committee with outside people. It's a...
Well, it once was a commission committee.
I know it once was.
And
That's what I'm trying to find out.
well, I really have viewed this as a different creature because it's made up of all commissioners. The previous
Yes.
commission committee had outside members of the public, members of the agricultural community as members of the committee. So I really didn't consider this the
I just
same.
wanted to be sure it was clear to everybody. This is a commission committee.
Well, it wasn't clear to me. I mean, I didn't see it.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, I know it was a pre-existing commission committee. I'll gladly take advice from council on that if that's the case, even though we're changing the nature of the committee.
It sounds like it's a new version of the commission committee.
Okay,
It'll be a different.
okay. All right, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
That's all right. I just want to be sure we all know what we're doing.
I'm still wet behind the ears around, I don't know. It's a commission committee, there we go.
You're doing fine.
Thank you, and Commissioner Galletta, thank you very much for raising that. Okay. That's the extent of my reports. I'll be turning now to Director Wittenberg.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
And I have nothing to report other than to extend the gloating and joy I've experienced from Duke University winning the championship. Sorry, that's kind of often, so I'm giving myself a week.
Good for you.
Happen often. As a graduate of Wisconsin, it happens too often.
I know I'm in a bad place on this, but soaring blue, I'm still, it did bring me.
Good. Well, congratulations.
Okay, I didn't play actually, but.
You saw you on the bench.
Yes, I contributed in that way. So, Larry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just had a couple things to bring up to date on. One is the last month I reported that Hamilton had on its normal years in terms of wastewater recharge at the facility. In the winter, we always have some trouble getting the water back in the ground. It's very wet, and they're building facilities that are going to address that, but they're a process. So they did have another normal winter, if you like. Right now, they are back to using ground recharge fully, and they hope to have the full, they have two facilities primarily they're building. One is a surface application, the other is a subsurface application. The surface application, I think, will have to be done by the end of May, the full system there. And then I think they're scheduled to also start the subsurface because I think they want to get it completed for the falls because it's going underneath that levee field. So those two facilities, when they're up and going, we're hopeful that next winter we'll have a full plan. The only other thing I want to mention, I think I mentioned this before, perhaps, 5 years ago, DEP and we sat down and said that we really ought to make sure that we have full access to each other's T&E data. And what we had here at the commission was we had some electronic data, we had paper reports, we had old plot maps with markings on them, and so what we decided to do was get those fully digitized, go through as many reports as we could. And I'm happy to say that we're sort of up to date, although we keep finding new things as we go along, we probably will. We're fully up to date and we have all of our stuff on digital, and we'll be sharing that, I think this month, I'm not sure what date it is this month, with DEP, but they also will have the full set of data, and that's part of our agreement, so we're all working from the same maps, if you like, when we look at DEP data, so I'm pleased that we've gotten that done, that's people from Chuck's office, and our office, and even science, so that's all I have.
Any questions for the Director?
On the Hamilton thing, it's important to note that they're completing installation of the above ground and the below ground is very important to Hamilton because until they do that, they can add new flow, which means no new development can happen, no expansion of development can happen. So this is, timing on this is very important.
Good morning, Commissioners, members of the public. I just had a couple of items I wanted to note. The first one concerns the Buena Vista Township application that was scheduled on the agenda for action today. I just wanted to note that we have received a requested appeal of that application. So rather, the appeal contains a lot of information that we're in the process of evaluating, and more particularly Stacy Roth is in the process of evaluating. And in the meantime, we received a request from the mayor of Buena Vista Township to hold that application until the May commission meeting, so we will not be taking action on the Buena Vista Township public development application today.
Are you going to be seeking a motion to table on that, or?
It's
Hasn't been read.
so it's just.
Right, okay.
The next item that
I'm still here.
the next item I wanted to mention is we've scheduled a meeting with Burlington County officials over a long pending project, which is improvements to Taunton Road. Taunton Road in Burlington County is the road that provides access to Kings Grant. There's been a long history of wetland issues associated with the improvements to Taunton Road, and in an effort to address those, we've scheduled another meeting for April 29th with the Burlington County engineer and their staff to try to resolve the matter. Two remaining items I wanted to note. On March 24th, we met with representatives of Atlantic Electric. They want to do some improvements to an electric transmission line in the vicinity of the Garden State Parkway and the Mullica River. The line will come over the Mullica River and be restrung on the new poles that have been put in. And in the line, they will be putting in new lines and new poles through the New Gretna area. We do not have an application for that yet, but I just wanted to note we have that pre-application occurred and we'll fully anticipate that occurring.
Chuck, that line won't be on the bridge, it'll be in pole, on poles.
The line will be on poles. New poles are already installed for another line.
Yeah.
And they are going to be attaching to those new poles as it crosses the river.
Thank you.
And the last item I just wanted to mention, we continue to have meetings with a large mining concern, with thousands and thousands of acres of ownership down in Morris River Township, trying to move past individual applications that have to address threatened and endangered species and moving towards what we would commonly refer to as a habitat conservation plan that addresses all the holdings. The holdings approach 7,000 acres. We had another meeting with that party and their attorney, and we seem to be moving closer and closer to a habitat conservation plan. I think that's a benefit, in my opinion, to both the commission and to the applicant. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any commissioners, any comments? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Executive Director, reading in the newspaper about a proposed New Jersey natural gas pipeline coming through Burlington County. Has there been any conversation between our staff and New Jersey natural gas? Anything on that?
Not anticipating the question, I can't give you the exact date. Months ago, we had preliminary meetings with New Jersey Natural Gas on their route and what they were trying to accomplish. We haven't heard anything since, and we don't have an application in-house. There's nothing here yet.
I also read that, I guess, Jackson Township shot down the rezoning efforts. Is that dead? Or where does that stand?
No, that has been an ongoing discussion since I've been here 4 years, and way before that with Jackson. They are struggling to figure out what they want to do with that particular regional growth area. They had come to us a while ago and said that they wanted to do some commercial. We said, okay, now they don't want to. So no, it's not that.
It's zoned residential, though, right, currently?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
regional growth area.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
Oh, yes.
Commissioner Lee.
Just in response to the question about the pipeline, my understanding is that an application was filed with the BPU this week. I don't have no information about what's happened here, but that's my understanding is that application was filed.
Thank you.
Petition, it's called.
Okay.
Now we know all the language.
Right, yes. Is there any further to say? Yes. Stacey.
Commissioners, good morning. It's my understanding that you received an email from, or a letter from the State Ethics Commission that it is that time of year again, time to file your financial disclosure statements. To those of you, Chairman Blowbauer was right on the ball, like 24 hours that was filed. Kudos to you. One other commissioner.
So easy.
It's embarrassing.
So you have until May 15th. Just, the sooner the better. Just wanted to give you that annual reminder. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't.
Commissioner
You'll get it
Barr,
now.
because you're new,
Okay.
I will reach out to them so that they send you the information.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, he has some extra time as well.
That I have to double check because he's come on board during the time when they're doing financial disclosure. He may get wrapped up into this time period. Otherwise, when you're outside this time period, it's 180 days from the time that you're sworn in. So I will confirm that as well. Thank
Let
you.
me know.
All right, there's nothing else? Okay, let's move on to the agenda. Well, the one public development project that we had has been lifted from the agenda. We move on to planning matters. There's a municipal ordinance Okay, we have a resolution before us regarding a municipal ordinance in Franklin Township to conditionally certify their ordinance 0-6-14, amending chapter 253, that's what I mentioned to you from our policy implementation committee. May I hear a motion for the adoption of the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Commissioner,
Webb.
I had a friend investigate some of the businesses in Franklin Township, and it appears there's about 10 businesses that could be affected that were previous to 1979, to the commission's and the CMP being written. I'm going to vote no, as I did before. I think it would be an aye committee on this, because I think it needs to be rectified and complete this role probably through our CMP amendment. I think there's businesses there that can be aggrieved. I don't know if they're using those electronic signs right now. But if they had a choice or an opportunity, I think it could hurt them. And I think this is just putting an undue restriction on them when they were already there before 1979. So I'm going to vote no. And I really would like to see this as a CMP amendment to address these electronic signs.
I see. Okay. All right, thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners with a comment or discussion of this resolution? All in favor of the adoption of this resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Okay, the resolution passes. Okay. Next, we'll entertain public comment on agenda items and pending public development applications. We have here it is. There are two pending public development applications. One of the EEP State Forestry Service for a forest fire field break and road restoration in Washington Township. The other one, Lenape Regional High School District, for construction of a 485 square foot building addition to Seneca High School. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address these? Seeing no one, we'll move on to the next. We have two ordinances in our packet that do not require commission action, one from Chemung Township, another from Tabernacle. But if any commissioners have any comments or questions they want to raise about these, I'll bring those now. Your comments on that. Okay, next we're getting to general public comment session. Do we have a sign?
That's the thing.
Oh, okay. Again, for anyone who wanted to speak today, sign in. Thank you very much. I say, if there's anything in my life that's ever demonstrated to me my own personal inadequacies, it has been attempts to chair this meeting during the public comment portion. So I'll just preface this particular public comment portion by imploring people to be as kind and charitable as possible. Focus your comments on issues, please, not on personalities, and I'm sure we'll all do better for it. All right, that being said, we have a fairly long list. Denise Garner is the first one. Jackson Township. Ms. Garner, if you could step forward to the microphone there. Identify yourself.
Thank you. Good morning, all, and congratulations on your nomination. I'm a Jackson Township Environmental Commissioner, but what I'm speaking about is the rezoning that they've been, that was actually killed in our township from the last meeting. And looking at that and having that established buffer, it actually is a good idea. But for the property owners, they feel that they're being, short-ended. Originally, I'll give you a little bit of background. I do have GIS, and I do understand, the hydrologies of that area and the importance of recharge. Being those properties are in close proximity to Lake Little Base, it should be, they need to evaluate that property very carefully because of the plumes that are reaching beyond the boundaries over there, okay? So if you develop it, even if it's as residential or commercial, the impact of the groundwater is going to be very high. You need to really look at that. And I know the soils are very porous, which means the hydrologies of whatever will hit the groundwater completely. There were numerous residents that were upset about the rezoning and the reclassification, but I think that they need to be, considered their comments, and I really believe that my version of this is that if they could at least consider it as open space, it's something that is very key to the recharge of the aquifers, the Cohansey and the deeper aquifers that are really being actually compromised because of the overdevelopment in the areas above. And we are not looking at that now. And I know in the future it will be a concern. We are extracting that water, but we are not putting it back in. And those buffer zones are really key to that. These property owners need to be compensated, fully for what they have. They own something that is very key to Pinelands, and they need to be part of the decision and not eliminated from any part of the negotiations. And I thought about it, and I says the Trust for Public Land, Jackson Township, and Ocean County, and also there are probably other land use types of businesses that could help alleviate these individuals that have lived there for years and look for, their retirement. If they leave it at open space, they've given us a world of, a generation, a world of clean water and fresh air, and you have to say thank you for that. But I really feel that they need to have their voice in this too. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Right next, Tim Mead. Mr. Mead.
I don't know if it's pertinent because I don't think that it's being tabled right now. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Just identify yourself.
My name is Tim Mead. I'm a resident of Winslow Township. I don't know if this is being discussed today in regards to the Hamilton Tuckahoe turf farm with the South Jersey Barons. Is that being discussed today?
No, but you're welcome to comment.
My understanding is there's an issue with the Tuckahoe turf farm and MSSL and the South Jersey Barons using the turf farm for soccer activities for youth sports. I'm sure you're all aware. I just wrote a quick little synopsis. Mr. Chairman, Pinelands Commissioners, my name is Tim Mead. I'm a resident of Winslow Township and parent of a 9-year-old son, Owen Mead, and my daughter, Sarah Mead, 11 years old, who are both members of the South Jersey Elite Barons. The Barons uses the farm for their practice. Thank you for letting me speak. I don't pretend to know a lot about state regulations, but I do know firsthand what the events at Tuckahoe Turf Farm have meant to the Pinelands communities children in terms of recreation and opportunity. The South Jersey Elite Barons is a wonderful youth soccer organization and is a great experience for Sarah and Owen to be able to play on such great fields. But it is not only about recreation for our children, it is also an opportunity to expose Pinelands kids to college soccer coaches. You may not think of it this way, but to college soccer coaches, Pinelands kids live in the middle of nowhere. Barons teams participate in MSSL Mid-Atlantic Soccer Showcase events at the farm. Those games have been a godsend for our youth players. The college showcase and a handful of other youth soccer events a year gives our kids a chance to be noticed. We looked it up. For our 1995 and 96 class, our now 18, 19, and 20-year-old young men and women, we have 13 boys and 20 girls playing in college, the most from Atlantic and Burlington counties, and some from Camden and Gloucester. Thank you, and please, on behalf of the soccer playing children of the Pinelands, please say yes and let it go forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Alan Carter. Good morning.
Good morning. Alan Carter, Turf Farms. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and congratulations, Mr. Barr. I'm sure you're going to have an exciting time on this board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, as this is vital to the survival of our farm. As the world changed in the past 7 to 8 years, the turf farm has increasingly relied on sales to those looking to purchase sod for athletic playing field surfaces. Some of the best known stadiums in the country use tuck-and-go turf. Our most effective marketing by far is the show me and feel me. And what I mean, we invite representatives from athletic venues such as the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Washington Nationals, or even the University of Michigan to come and inspect the fields before and after soccer tournaments that take place in Hamilton. No ad, slogan, or sales pitch could rival the effectiveness of this marketing. Those stadium representatives, or in other cases, high school or municipal buying agents, can see the quality of our turf in action. By doing so, it has directly resulted in sales we would otherwise not have had. We have kept all of our employees while other sod farms in the state have closed. Tuck-and-Go Turf Farm is among the finest in the nation for growing quality turf grass for athletic fields. Tuck-and-Go Turf high quality mirrors that of neighboring farms who grow blueberries, cranberries, and many other vegetables and specialty crops. Over the past year, we have made many concessions and compromises to reach the interim agreement with your staff. We look forward to moving ahead in a positive manner with you as the commission works towards a pilot program. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Josephine Sinker. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Josephine Sienkiewicz. My husband Robert and I are here today to speak to the Jackson Township ordinance issue on the rezoning. We were present at the last meeting a couple of weeks ago when the ordinance was presented. We own a small farm in that area. We're right on the fringe. The opposite side of the road is not Pinelands, and we're in the Pinelands, so we're as far out as you can get. But we purchased our 15-acre property 38 years ago, and at that time it was a 1-acre zoning, rural, residential, agricultural area. We bought it as a home, raised our family. My husband owns a landscaping operation, which he grew his trees and shrubs on the property. We're now I'm in my 60s, he's in his 70s, and we're getting to the point where we're looking at that land as our future and our retirement and our investment. The Pinelands came in and the zoning was changed, which we were okay with. We still felt we could still subdivide and still have some investment. Then we were hit with this rezoning, which would totally make it a commercial and industrial property surrounded by single-family homes and residences and a horse farm. We're also bordered by 2 preserved farmland areas. And the idea that we would no longer be able to develop our property and realize the investment that we've made in our 38 years of working the land and living on it, preserving it. It's still a fairly pristine area. We see deer and fox and turkeys. We just had 60 turkeys on our front lawn the other day. So I really just think that the commission and the township need to consider that 2 years ago in 2012, the newspaper reported that $7.5 million was spent between the Department of Defense, the Pinelands Commission, the state, the county, and the town to pay the Claytons for their large property in order to reduce development. I understand the need for the reduction of development, but you have to also remember that there are small landowners and people who own single-family homes that border in the area that would lose their land value and would have their investments in their houses and property affected by making this totally commercial and but eliminating any possibility of development. I think that's short-sighted. I understand the reason for looking at that, but we've lived in harmony with the base all these years, and I don't understand the rationale for ruining what would be our investment in our lives. So I hope that that's taken into consideration when this ordinance is re-looked at. I think the idea of turning us into an industrial area when it's horse farms and agricultural area, there's farms right near us, preserved farmland, and to have this the rug swept out from under us like this is just terrible from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fran Brooks. Fran Brooks?
Yeah, thank you.
I know, I want to say public comment.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Fran Brooks. I'm a Tabernacle Township resident. And first, I'd like to welcome Mr. Barr. He's got a challenging future ahead, and a complex future ahead, but welcome to your first meeting. Also, Chairman Lobauer, I've attended many meetings in my life, and I want to just say that you run some of the best meetings I've ever attended, so you shouldn't demean your performance at all. But having said that, at the last, I guess it was the P&I meeting, I asked about the pilot project, and one of the things that I'd like to learn more about is what is this pilot project? It was connected to the Tuckahoe Turf Farm issue, so I'd like an explanation of what the pilot project is and why it's being done under the guise of a pilot project.
I don't know if we're at liberty to discuss it right now. We're in negotiations with them, right? I'll defer to
The
staff.
comprehensive management plan, there's a section in there about pilot projects. So I'd start looking there. And the pilot project is sort of independent of Tuckahoe Turf Farm, which was something we were, agriculture activities were things we've been struggling with, but we haven't established it. It will be established as rulemaking, it will be a public process, but we haven't started yet.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to understand why it's being put in the context of a pilot project, because pilot projects generally are preliminary to larger quantitative
Yes, it's preliminary
projects.
Yes.
Well, this is not, when you do a pilot project, it's preliminary to a larger quantitatively oriented project, so.
Not necessarily. It's the CMP allows us to do it. We've done some in the past. If you look there, there's some of them still there to read about. And we haven't started yet, so.
Okay, so I don't really, I still haven't heard an explanation of what the pilot project is. What is the pilot project?
I'd just rather not get into the subject matter of that particular issue because we're in negotiations with those parties. Right? That council is saying.
Chairman Lombardi, that's not an issue with regard to the other matter. I think the pilot program provision is under 750-10. It authorizes the commission to go through a rulemaking process to develop these programs, to do the quantitative analysis that's required to then look at whether or not the impacts associated with what the commission is thinking about, what they are and whether it warrants a larger rulemaking process to make it a regional initiative. In this case, what we're talking about is the commission has received a number of applications. There have been issues that have arisen as a result of the efforts of the agricultural community to find other ecotourism, economic opportunities. It goes everything from large-scale pick-your-own to hay rides, to corn mazes, to weddings, to yoga, to softball. And we've had a large number, to microbrew. We've had a large number of these issues come up in the last couple of years. The Pinelands is not the only area where this issue has come to the forefront. As you may remember, SADC about a year ago was dealing with this issue with regard to Loretta Winery and bringing in food trucks and having events. Rather than deal with it on a case-by-case basis, the pilot program allows the commission to look at this issue holistically and define terms as to what it wants to, for lack of a better term, research in terms of what the impacts may be associated with these particular activities, and then go back and look at your rules and decide whether or not, based on what you've learned from the pilot program, you want to do a larger scale regional initiative. And that's really what the pilot program is about.
Thank you, Ms. I think I may have misunderstood your question, Ms. Brooks. I thought you were trying to get into the substance.
No, I was using that as an example because I've
Okay.
heard pilot project used multiple times, and
Okay.
there are very express understandings in social science and research as to what really a pilot project is, and I wanted to be sure that I understood the Commission's position on that. So thank you very much for that explanation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, it
Yeah.
sounds like that could be a good issue for the agricultural subcommittee to.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be. Okay, next, Fred Akers. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Fred Akers, the Administrator of the Great Harbor Watershed Association, and I have a number of matters to comment on. First, I want to report that I attended the Pinelands short course. It was excellent. I learned a lot, and Paul Leakin and Joel Mott are the consummate professionals at running this event, and I think they have a lot to be proud of. They're really outstanding. Also, I've found myself going back to the minutes of previous meetings a good bit this year, and I would just like to commend the Commission and the Commission staff for the quality of the minutes that they provide for the meetings. It's really a good resource, and I often find valuable information from the minutes. I would also like to commend the Commission on the staff reports. Sometimes the agenda items, there's not a lot like this meeting, but I come a lot for the staff reports to hear what's going on. So at the last meeting, now I'm going to talk about public development and public development violations. The last meeting, there was a discussion about that. And I'm going to give a nod to Stacy that I'm not going to talk about the Buena Vista. I realize the record's closed, so I'm talking again about the process. That one is still a moving target. I don't know where it's at. All right, so in reviewing, so what I'm talking about is when a public developer builds something without getting the permission of the Pinelands Commission, this would be in the Pinelands, and then the Pinelands Commission is faced with how to deal with that after the fact.
Yeah.
So, so in reviewing these things, it kind of occurred to me that on its face, the current process is like a charade or a pretense, and I know it is not. But when you read what's written about it, it appears that way. And here's why I say that, because it talks about the proposed development. So this is correcting a violation, but the language is like it was never built. So it's like a proposed development. So I'm reading that. The proposed development will do this, or the proposed development will be required to do that. And then if you get into any kind of pre-development conditions, then it really gets bizarre, because it's already been built, and so how can you have a pre-development condition? So the process just doesn't seem to be tailored to deal with that kind of situation. Okay, now I'm going to read a piece of the Finance Commission staff comment response that's in your packet. So I think that's on the record already. I'm not introducing anything new. And I'm going to use it to make a point of for a suggestion or a recommendation. So, and this was discussed by the commissioners at the last meeting, but it was not really reflected in the minutes. That's not a criticism, but, so I'm bringing it up again. It says, the proposed stormwater management plan was designed and signed and sealed by a New Jersey licensed professional engineer. The commission staff has reviewed the proposed stormwater management plan for consistency with the stormwater management standards of the CMP. These standards include, among others, a minimum distance of 2 feet between the bottom of the proposed stormwater basin and the seasonal high water table, the retention and infiltration of the design year storm, and the permeability of the soils below the stormwater basin. The commission staff's review is typically conducted based upon the information provided by the New Jersey professional engineer designing the plan. The commission staff site inspected the parcel subject to this application. It is the commission staff's opinion that the proposed stormwater management plan meets the stormwater management standards of the CMP. Then they go on to say the commission staff review should not be construed as guaranteeing that once constructed, the proposed stormwater management plan will function as designed. The CMP does not address all aspects of stormwater design that are included in the municipal land use ordinance. The commission staff does not perform stormwater facility construction inspection or stormwater facility maintenance inspections. Such inspections are the responsibility of the municipality. The New Jersey professional engineer designing the proposed stormwater management plan, in this instance the township engineer, is responsible for the design of the stormwater system. So the way I see this is like the commission staff is kind of going into a gunfight and they don't have any guns. And
You don't have enforcement power.
Well, but neither do you have the capability to do a peer review of a licensed and sealed engineer's work. So you're missing a tool. And in most cases, I would say that we should all be able to take the word of a development applicant that they're going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But in the case of a municipality that does a public development without applying to the commission, I'm going to suggest to you that there's 2 serious reasons of concern why that might occur. One is that perhaps the public development desire may not comply with the Pinelands plan and you might not permit it. The second serious reason would be maybe the town doesn't want to pay all the costs that would be necessary to do it according to the rules, so they want to do it on the cheap. And these towns, all of them, know that they know how to do this for private development. So I'm on a planning board, and the planning board members, the township staff, are on every detail, almost every time, of every code compliance. So the last thing that a town planning board and their professionals would want to occur would be a private development that harms an adjacent landowner or creates some kind of a post-development problem that they'd be responsible for. So they are on it. So what you have as a violation is a double standard. These towns know what the rules are. So if they choose not to follow the rules, it's a double standard. And really, you can't then say, oh, we'll take your word for it that you're going to do what you say you're going to do now. That's I just think that that's too big of a leap of faith. So how do you solve this? So if I was on the Pinelands Commission, I was a Pinelands Commissioner, and there was a situation like this where I was concerned that the outcome is not going to be that good, I would want to have a third-party independent peer review of the stormwater designs that is at a level that is more intense than the staff is capable of. And just like on the town planning boards, the applicants pay for everything. They put up an escrow, and then the fees for all the engineering and oversight are taken out of that, and the violator should pay for that. I mean, this is not gonna happen a lot of times, but it would really simplify this situation, in my opinion. So if you get a third-party independent review, like say Princeton Hydro, who's done work for you before in terms of getting the CMP and the state stormwater rules to match pretty good, that should give you some certainty, and the public some certainty, that what's being recommended technically has a good chance of working. Again, it's still going to be no guarantee that it's going to work, but at least the odds, in my opinion, would be better to have a third-party reviewer. So it's something that I don't know where the trigger would be for that, or how that would be implemented, but I think that your staff needs another tool in their toolbox in this particular case, and it may be in the end a time saver, and I don't see where it would cost a whole lot of money, because it's a review of existing documents, maybe a site visit, maybe some borings to double check, is that groundwater level the engineer told us really the right one? So that's my suggestion in this case. And in the future, you need to have that as an option to go to.
We can certainly consider it with staff, but I'll say this, I can't imagine under any circumstance that the commission would ever guarantee an outcome on a project. We wouldn't put ourselves in that position. So
I
what you're
understand
really
that.
saying is, are there circumstances under which we should question the professional opinion of a licensed engineer or other professional? And that's a difficult thing. I mean, they're independent actors. They're not there.
Yeah, but if you have reason to believe
I hear you.
that there's a credibility issue, it's a different ballgame. If you have no reason to believe there's an issue, fine, yeah.
I don't know we ever have issue with credibility with the engineer, certainly with political actors, but anyhow, but thank you.
That's my
comment. Okay, next, Margit Meister Jackson. Good morning.
Hi, sorry it took me so long to get around that. Margaret Meister Jackson, I'm with the Sierra Club, Ocean County. And I just wanted to say thank you that you would not allow the South Jersey gas pipeline through here. I know that's probably still pending. It might come again. But I don't know whether you have been made aware of it, that apparently the New Jersey National Gas Company is going to run another piece and also a pipeline through the Pinelands from Burlington to Ocean County. And apparently it's also going, according to newspaper reports, also supposed to go through the preservation area. They claim it's supposed to be for to power up Fort Dix and McGuire, but the Drug Commission in Washington wants to close that area. And then they said, well, if we can also take it over to Oyster Creek, because Oyster Creek is supposed to close 2019. We really need to be very careful of what we are planning and what we are doing, and not just for the Pinelands, but for the rest of the state. There is pennies, there is diamond pipelines, there is the New Jersey Natural Gas, South Jersey Gas, and Pilgrims. They are all planning to go through New Jersey for one reason or another. Some say the Bakken oil is coming from North Dakota to Linden to the refinery. I'm also working on ocean issues, and there are proposals for a liquefied natural gas port off the coast, 25 miles off our coast, in New York coast. Although the governor has vetoed this once, It's questionable of whether they will be approved the next time around. They want to do seismic testing out in the ocean and for oil and gas exploration eventually. There has to be an end to this coming through New Jersey. Apparently Penn East would violate something like 66 preserved parcels. That comes up to about 4,500 acres of preserved land. And every time it comes up to the voters on the elections, the voters always approve Green Acres Fund and so on. So they're in favor of preserving land, farmland. This used to be the Garden State. It's going to be the Pinelands State. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Next, Ann Kelly. Horace Soames. Horace Soames? Okay. Carol Gay.
Good morning. I too want to thank you for voting against the South Jersey pipeline, and I hope you will stand firm in your opposition to that pipeline and any future pipelines. My name is Carol Gay. I'm president of the New Jersey State Industrial Union Council. I have been here before in opposition to the pipeline, as have many others, and I'm just here to let you know we still stand firm in our opposition, and we join the chorus of voices and organizations who are opposed to any more pipelines through the Pinelands. It's your duty, it's your obligation, it's your responsibility to protect the pipelines. Pinelands. And so we beg you, do not protect any pipelines, just the Pinelands. We have several concerns. I just have some general concerns. As a citizen of the planet, as well as a labor leader, I represent workers throughout, it's a statewide labor federation. And we want to save our planet. As human beings on this planet, we need to protect what pristine areas we have already, and as many more as we possibly can protect in the future, if all of us as human beings want to have a life on this planet. We're concerned about the threats to, of course, to animal habitat and to endangered species. We're especially concerned about the dangers to our water supply. We just want, as we hope you do too, to move away from fossil fuels. It's necessary, it's something we have to do, move away from fossil fuels. And more pipelines just mean more fracking. And you know the dangers of fracking. It's a very dangerous process with toxic chemicals that pollute and contaminate our water supply, our air, and it's just something we've got to end. And we urge you to move with us toward sustainable energy sources and away from fossil fuels. We're also concerned about the safety. Gas lines tend to explode, so safety is a big concern. And I guess I will just end by saying that as sisters and brothers, as sister and brother human beings, please stand with the many voices and organizations who just want to stand on the side of people, and the planet. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Mary Ann Clement.
Thank you, Commissioners. First, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Barr. We look forward to your working hard for the conservation and preservation of the Pinelands. I ditto everything Carol said, I'm not going to talk as long as she did. But, you know, please listen to everything that she said. It's so important for our planet. My question today is just, has anything further come from the South Jersey gas court case, or any information, any pending information?
Good development, we could speak about it anyway. But, no, there's nothing new.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Wolf.
I thought I was on the bottom of the list.
Yeah, not quite.
Bill Wolf, Bordentown. Welcome, new Commissioner Barr. Two things. I just want to make one point, but I want to make a prefatory point based on some of the concerns by folks that spoke previously. One is that your planning and regulatory policies need to be based upon the CMP, obviously, and science and law, and oftentimes compelling public interest, compelling personal. We heard some stories about investment expectations in retirement. These are very compelling human stories. But, like some of the debate on the pipeline, they are really outside the scope of your considerations. And I'm not trying to say that to be a bad human being, but I'm just trying to say that planning and regulation oftentimes are not allowed to consider those factors. The second point with respect to some of the commercial interests we heard overtly about using a soccer tournament as a promotional activity for your commercial enterprise. That to me is just by definition outside, again, an inappropriate consideration, and kind of, I believe, taints the process as badly as the things we heard earlier about the origin being to appease Senator Lesniak. You see what I mean? So there's really the overt political and extraneous considerations that are being brought to bear on the commission are very troubling to hear them being expressed so brazenly and transparently. They're not even trying to make the case that there's a policy rationale behind, or a planning rationale behind their ultimate interest. And that to me is, again, you have to listen to those arguments and evaluate those arguments, but I hope you understand that, to my view, the public view, it's brazen. And the third piece, which I heard was very troubling, is I'm interested in youth. I have two kids. My daughter was a very competitive soccer player. She attended and did all the Mid-Atlantic tournaments. She was recruited in D1. So I understand parents need to market their kid at these tournaments. But again, I would never go in a public forum and say, I'm bringing my daughter to Maryland so college coaches can see her play. That to me is like, you don't talk that way. It's just ridiculous. And to have that before the commission now as a backdrop rationale as to why you should approve a policy dealing with recreational use that's in violation of deed restriction, again, you got to start drawing some lines. And I'll draw them, I'll be the bad guy and draw them, but they need to be drawn. That's my preface. My only substantive point was I did receive a response from the chairman about the important issue of how the commission will address climate change. And that to me is a very important issue you need to get engaged in, because if you incorporate, and I think you have the authority, I don't think it's a legal issue, and I don't think it's even a policy issue, that climate and energy need to be part of your plan. And other regional planning entities, I gave you the Adirondack Park regional planning policies, that they administer a park bigger than the entire state of New Jersey. So the Highlands Council is going through the same process where people are trying to get energy and climate policies in. So my disappointment, I want to just say I was disappointed in the response for the following reasons. One, it referenced the Energy Master Plan. And the Energy Master Plan is the executive branch, it's the governor's plan, and it's the BPU's plan. So number one, it's not binding on this commission. Number two, it didn't mention the key statute, which I'm trying to get you to incorporate as the goals and objectives and the emission reduction targets, which is the Global Warming Response Act. That establishes statewide goals that the commission should be addressing. And you did not base your response on the Global Warming Response Act. That's problem number one. Number two, it referenced the plan review process, and I went and looked at the plan review document, and all the substantive program areas that you do plan review on that are relevant to climate, forests, water resources, ecology, none of them incorporated climate. You tagged it on like page 126 as a response to public comments. There was about 12 words. And here's the overarching, most important issue that all human beings are facing, and it's on page 126 on 3 sentences in response to public comment. So I mean, when the entire plan review process could have incorporated it every step along the way, and I gave you sufficient heads up in the course of the debate on the Pinelands to do that, and it just wasn't done. So, and then thirdly, the third critical flaw in your response was it didn't make any commitment. I asked for a commitment as to how to get this on your agenda. That means the commitment you made to Senator Lesniak. You bulleted 3, 4, 5 activities over a compressed time frame to respond to the Senate Economic Development Committee and Senator Lesniak. Before political pressure, you guys jumped. How high? Jump. I asked you a public policy imperative, and you bury me on page 126, we'll think about it. That's not good enough. And you need to do better. And I hope you reconsider based on my concerns today and come back with a more thoughtful and rigorous reply. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Paul Dietrich.
Good morning, Chairman and Council. I've come to you as a resident of Venice Township down in Cayman County. Where I'm a fourth, my daughter will be a 4th generation Pinelands resident since 1965. So, it's coming from down in Cayman County. It's a long journey, and my daughter's passion is soccer. She's been playing with the Barons since she was 7 years old, and to make her travel up to play at the Tucko Turf Farms with the Barons is important, because that playing field and that surface gives her that edge and that opportunity to play at those highest levels. I'm also a professional engineer and professional planner, and I'm sure your technical staff is looking at all those other overriding issues as far as those benefits and how those things might fit into a project, and I'll probably reach out to them just to talk to them about that, and I don't think that's the point here. I just wanted to let you know that there is support out there and there's a need. Being down in Cayman County, there's no place to go and play at that high level to have those high quality fields to play on in South Jersey. To not play here, I have to go another hour and a half to play up towards Toms River, Rancocas or Cherry Hill or beyond to play at those higher levels, to be competitive. So just want to express that concern and urge you to continue on working with Tucko Turf and seeing what might come of it. Thank you.
Okay, before you leave the mic, would you mind identifying yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you. Paul Dietrich, Dennisville, Cayman County.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Oh, we did? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Okay, Jim Rapp.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Commissioner. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Jim Rapp, Jackson Township resident. I've also spoke, like many others here, come out against the South Jersey gas pipeline. And I'd like to thank the Commission for coming to that conclusion, that it was not consistent with the management plan and the mandates that you have been given. And hopefully, the very next time that this issue comes up, because it probably is going to be much like a bouncing ball returning, or a boomerang, I hope that you come to the same conclusion. I'd also like to welcome Mr. Barr to the Commission. He probably is aware, he's seen my face, he knows I was down in Trenton lobbying against his appointment. Apparently others thought that he was qualified to be on this commission. The governor obviously has a lot of confidence in him, and I hope that he is able to rise to the circumstance at which he now finds himself. I'd like to also thank Mr. Jackson for his years of service on this commission. He has left it in fine shape, and I'd like to offer from my wife and I our sincere thanks. I'm also heartened to see Mr. Lloyd back today. Yeah, you've heard me come here and go off on tangents about fracking, and others mention this. Obviously, what we're talking about is a national policy issue where at the federal level, it seems that President Obama and Washington has embraced natural gas as the fuel, as the American Petroleum Institute says on its commercial, for the next 100 years. And obviously, because of water concerns, air pollution, the close proximity to all of this huge disturbing infrastructure being in and around homes and families, it has raised some ire and great concern among the populace of the United States. So I'd like to urge the Commission to focus on the fact that we understand as environmentalists what you're up against. We understand maybe the lack of support at the national level, but we also stand firm in the fact that we all are familiar with the management plan and know that it is not consistent. These pipelines coming to it are not consistent with what the intent of that legislation is, of your amendment. Mr. Barr, I'd like to address you on a personal level. I stand here much like yourself with no degrees in biology, no scientific background. I serve on no boards or commissions, planning boards or environmental commissions. I'm a concerned citizen advocate. I find myself struggling many times to come up with testimony pertinent to the situation and not sound disconnected from the actual facts of the matter. As much time as I spend involved thinking about them and trying to espouse them. So I offer you any support that I can in helping you understand the love and the commitment that this commission has and all of the citizens of New Jersey have to the Pinelands. I heard your testimony, and I know that you said that Governor Christie's confidence in you and his appointment would not be a guarantee of you carrying out his policies or his wishes. He is in support of the pipeline on record, and I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to not prejudge you and say that because he appointed you, that you are in no way a bought and paid for vote in any hit in that, or in that subject or any future subject. It's always been a policy of mine to judge people on their actions, personal actions. So we welcome you and want to work with you to preserve the Pine Barrens. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, that is the end of this. Is there anyone else? Yes, Mr.
Yeah, sorry, I got here late.
It's okay. Thank you.
Jeff Fiddle, Director of New Jersey Sierra Club, for those who don't know me. I want to say maybe we'll finally get a spring day today. And I'm also here, I wanted to put on the record that I really want to thank Robert Jackson for his years of dedication, not only to the Pinelands, but as mayor, West Cape mayor. We've worked together on so many important issues over the years. And I know now we're at a crossroads and things may change or may not, but I think it's important for us, I think, to be here today because boards go through cycles and periods, and we're now entering into a new period within the Pinelands Commission, and we have to remember why we're all here, and it's really about the almost 1 million acre area that is called the Pinelands, which is one of the most unique places anywhere in the world. There's plant species and other animal species, reptiles are found here and nowhere else. It's the largest freshwater aquifer on the eastern seaboard. And that the Commission has been charged to come up with a plan
to protect those core natural resources of the pines, the core areas of the pines, while trying to balance growth with the preservation of the pinelands. And I think it's critical, and that's why the comprehensive management plan is so important and is such a guiding tool for the future of the pinelands. But it's comprehensive, it's not compromised. And the concern that we have today is that we're seeing pushback on planning throughout New Jersey, whether it's in the Meadowlands or the failure for the state plan to move forward or the Highlands. We also see some troubling things facing the pinelands, like the memorandum of agreement with the DEP on sewer service, and legislation that passed last year that almost triples the size of package plants, and the pressures that they may be putting on the comprehensive management plan for opening up villages and towns and other growth areas in the pinelands for development that could really have substantial negative impacts on the pines. Places like Warren Grove or Chatsworth, where at one time, under previous law and rules, the DEP could only allow package plants for about 80 units, and now it's up to 200. And that makes those plants all of a sudden become more cost effective versus cost prohibitive, plus changes in the Economic Development Act to allow tax increment financing for that type of infrastructure. So we're very concerned about that, because that could have very significant impacts to the pinelands and to the ecosystems, to groundwater, to everything else, and especially to Barnegat Bay. And of course, Heritage Minerals, the Dracula of developments, is back. And that's a big concern because, that's in the pines, and that could be 2,500 units. And that could have major impacts to Barnegat Bay and to the pinelands. And that's why planning and science is so important. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I think in driving through the pines and spending time here, we're seeing changes, whether it's because of the southern pine beetle and climate change impacts that they're not dying off. We're seeing more and more oaks coming into a pine forest. We're seeing, water tables drop. And we're also heading, I think, not only into, in some ways, in a state of political crisis environmentally, but we're also setting into an environmental crisis. And I think the Pinelands Commission really has to take a very strong and hard look at climate change and potential impacts. The cranberry bogs and the pines are the warmest place on earth that can still grow cranberries. And that may change. And that's something you have to plan for or think about what's going to happen. There are other signs too that we see, and the development around the edges of the pines that are now, I think, drawing water down in the pines are having an impact. And so we have a lot in front of us, but the main thing that we have to have in front of us is to base our decisions on the overall Pinelands Act, which is the protection of the pines and this wonderful resource, that we have to make sure our actions are based on the best science we can find on climate change and natural resources and ecology, and that we have to keep this process out of politics. That at times, that always raises its head. We've seen it with Tabernacle in high school, we've seen it in the past with the firing of Terry Moore, and this is really about all of us standing up for the process to make sure that memorandums of agreements aren't abused, that there's not undue pressure brought in from political entities, whether it's a governor or legislature, even local governments, and that we base our decisions on the science and on our commitment to the protection of the pinelands. So what I'm saying to the new members and to those who are here and have been doing their job for years, it's up to all of us to work together to stand up for the pinelands and for moving this commission forward, no matter what's happened in the last couple of months. It's really about all of us pulling together and doing our jobs. And for those who haven't seen, I usually only come to meetings when they're either important, good, or bad, and hopefully I'll be coming for more good meetings and no bad meetings, and so we can get our act together when it comes to dealing with energy policy and infrastructure and planning for the future of the Pinelands. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Lee Rosenson, PPA, New Jersey Audubon Society. Excuse me. I also would like to commend Commissioner Jackson, former Commissioner Jackson, for all his long, devoted, and thoughtful service to this commission, to the Pinelands. And I would like to welcome Commissioner Barr without strings or qualifications. Looking forward to many fruitful interactions on many issues in the future, only some of which will have to do with pipelines. Two thoughts. I noticed Commissioner Erlin's question to the staff about whether or not there have been meetings with, New Jersey Gas about that pipeline. And it's been my thought that one of the things that should result from all the controversy over the South Jersey gas pipeline is a conversation between the commission and the staff about information flow back and forth. It's a very complex issue. Commissioners don't want to be bogged down with information, and staff needs its ability to do things without constantly being monitored. But I think it is important that the commission have a pretty good idea of what kind of information it wants and when it wants it, so that the activities of the staff are known to you when you want to know it, and vice versa. This has nothing to do with monitoring staff for bad behavior or anything like that. I have expressed my admiration for this staff many times publicly, but it was clear during the pipelines case that the flow of information back and forth was, well, certain some of us, was inadequate. And I think that's an issue that should be talked about, and if that flow could be improved, it would be very helpful to the commission and to the staff. I have another short point. Every year, I bring up a proposal, and every year, it goes nowhere. So I'm going to do it now. This is the time for this year. I'm doing it now because Fred Akers inadvertently sort of brought it up. It has to do with the acceptance of engineers and consultants' reports. I have said for a long time that to have applicants pay for the consultants who do T&D reviews on the applicant's land is an obvious potential conflict of interest. I do not accuse any consultants of dishonesty, but I happen to know. I spent part of my life as a scientist in the scientific community. It is well recognized that even the most honest investigators, if there is a lot riding on the results of their experiment, can unconsciously introduce bias. There is an obvious opportunity for bias when an applicant is paying a consultant to do a T&E review of a piece of property. My proposal is simple, that the commission figure out a way to charge an applicant a fee, and the commission hire the consultant. It seems very obvious to me it would be an improvement and would protect the integrity and the reputation for integrity of the commission. I don't know why I never get any traction here on this proposal, but I don't. So every year I bring it up, and I still think it's a good idea. I don't think it's so complicated. Last year I said, well, you could set up an escrow account. Somehow that seemed to be much too complicated. But there must be a mechanism by which the commission could become the agent that hires consultants to do the kind of work that is so important in applications for private development or even public development. And with that, I will leave it for this year, maybe 1 year, so people actually have it. Thank you for your kind attention.
Before you go, Mr. Witz, let me make you commitment that I'll include that, your request as an item for discussion at a policy and implementation committee meeting. Because I think it's a reasonable suggestion. I frankly see a distinction between those professionals who are engaged to do T&E analysis and professionally licensed people like engineers.
I do too.
I think there's a distinction, and maybe there is a reason, and I'd be happy to explore the discussion at the policy and implementation committee.
Well,
You're entitled to that.
you just made my year.
Great finish. All right, thank you very much. Was there anyone else who? Yes. I'll remind commissioners to stick around. We've got an item for a closed session. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Michael Gross. I'm Environmental Counsel to the New Jersey Builders Association. And I have two items I'd like to address. I know Commissioner Ashman is smiling because we've known each other for a long time.
You don't have an item about Commissioner Ashman.
2 points. I thank the chair for the statement he made at the outset of the meeting with respect to personal attacks. I was very troubled when I reviewed the minutes of the more recent Pinelands Commission meetings, and frankly shocked that there were personal attacks both upon commissioners and staff. In my dealings with the staff, and I've dealt with the staff since this commission was founded, and I've dealt with a number of staff, Chuck's predecessor, Nancy's predecessors. I have always found them, although I might have disagreed with them once in a while, I've always found them to act with the highest level of integrity. And to accuse the staff of not doing that, I think is shocking and should not be a part of these proceedings. So that's the procedural issue. With respect to the substantive issue, and I'm not going to even mention the circumstance, but you all know the controversial application that was before this commission did not receive the eight votes. I hope that you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater as a result of that, and I hope your reaction to that is not typical of legislatures, which when there's a situation that occurs, they adopt a very bad piece of legislation that haunts us for many years to come. And I'm talking about the interaction between staff and applicants. In any administrative process that I've ever been involved in terms of regulatory compliance, and that's on the state level and the federal level, county level, municipal level, there's always an interaction and a back and forth between the applicant and the staff. And it's essential because the result of that normally is that the applicant either has a compliant plan or, as a result of interaction with the staff, changes the plans to be compliant with whatever the regulatory process is, including the comprehensive management plan. So I would urge you that if you're going to consider the process, the application process, that you allow a free flow of information between the applicant and the staff. I'm not talking about any other avenues of information. I'm just talking about that concept, because if you don't allow that, you're going to really destroy the whole regulatory process, and you would be unique in terms of regulatory agencies in not allowing that free flow of information between the two. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone after this? All right, so this will be the closed public. Good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman and other members of the Commission, my name is Doug O'Malley. I'm the Director of Environment New Jersey. We represent over 20,000 citizen members across the state. And I wanted to start off just by, a couple points, but I wanted to welcome Bob Barr to the Commission. Obviously, Mr. Barr, along with other members of the commission, have a tremendous charge ahead of you as every year and in every meeting to protect the comprehensive management plan. I also wanted to thank the tremendous service of Robert Jackson and his many years of service here on the commission. And I think as others have spoken, the charge of protecting the Pinelands Commission is a legacy. 1.1 million acres is more than just one commissioner or one body of commissioners. It's really incumbent upon the public and this commission to think about this generation and the next. And so obviously I want to thank Mr. Jackson for his years of service and current members of the commission for their continued dedication. I want to start off also by thanking you, Mr. Chairman, for your continued work at revising the MOU process. And I think we just heard comments from Mr. Gross on his concerns on the process. I take a slightly different tact. I'd say without question, the process that South Jersey Gas used on the MOU was a flawed one. There is clearly a traditional relationship between an applicant and an independent regulatory body. This relationship, shown through emails that were secured, and thankfully, by the Pinelands Preservation Alliance, clearly show a non-traditional relationship. Ones that I can only imagine through the redacted emails are quite frankly outside of the norm, and especially for a project of this magnitude. Any applicant, but especially this applicant, South Jersey Gas, there's a need to reform this process. And I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and other members of the Commission for taking this charge. I also want to spend just a little bit of time, just reflecting on some of the earlier testimony that we had, and just the fundamental message of the gubernatorial letter of December 2013 from Governors Kane, Florio, Byrne, and Whitman. And that's the fact that there will always be a project that is asking for an exception to the rules, an exception to the comprehensive management plan. And whether that project is a gas pipeline, whether it's a soccer field, or even a solar field, and that there's a need for respecting the law of the Pinelands, and that's the comprehensive management plan. And clearly, one of the concerns with the South Jersey Gas application is that this was at the start of potentially a slippery slope. The Pinelands was clearly created to protect not only the 1.1 million acres, but to ensure that this oasis didn't become merely a conduit for energy infrastructure. And the application, or the potential application by New Jersey Gas for another pipeline in the northern part of the Pinelands, shows that there's clearly an appetite to use the Pinelands as an avenue for fossil fuel infrastructure. And that's clearly an appetite that's not going away, and it reinforces the importance of the independence of the Commission and the importance of the comprehensive management plan. I did also want to just take a moment to thank the advocacy of Bill Wolf from New Jersey Pier, and the response from you, Mr. Chairman, to his concerns on global warming and climate change and how they impact the pines. I also wanted to echo some of Mr. Wolf's concerns with your response. First, I just want to note and make sure that all members of the Commission are aware of a global warming emissions inventory that was published by Rutgers yesterday. Quite frankly, this inventory should be work that's being done by the state. We should know exactly where the largest sources of our global warming pollution is coming and have a plan to reduce them. As Bill mentioned, the Energy Master Plan by the Bush administration was altered a previous plan. It's not a document that is written into law. The Global Warming Response Act clearly is. And the Rutgers emission inventory shows that we're on track, as we all know, for the reductions of 20% of our carbon by 2020, but we are nowhere close to the reductions for 2050. And obviously, those policy ramifications are more broad than this commission, but looking at the impacts at the pines from climate change is not an abstract issue. And quite frankly, it's one that we don't even need to go through the looking glass. We just need to look to our western neighbors, not only California, but also our western states. And quite frankly, hopefully all of you had a chance to see the visual that Governor Jerry Brown had in the Sierra Nevada mountains of standing on what should be snow. California snowpack is non-existent, and you're looking at counties that have to reduce their water use by up to 35%. Obviously, the agricultural sector has already cut back. California's agricultural sector uses a tremendous amount of the water, up to 80%. What's not being talked about in California as much as it should is what impact will future reductions and a continued drought in California have on its ecology. And when we look at the Pinelands and the impact of the hydrology and potential future drought impacts for the pines, this needs to be part of the analysis of the Pinelands Commission, not just for today, not just for a decade from now, but looking to 2035 and to 2050. I also want to note something that certainly is on the radar screen for the Commission, and that is the continued invasion of southern pine beetles. And again, I want to point the Commission's attention to our western neighbors. The pine beetle invasion in the west, which started actually up in Canada and British Columbia, has spread in a tremendous speed throughout our western states. And if some of you are familiar with the impact in Colorado, I encourage you to Google pictures of those forests out there. Quite frankly, the pine beetle has devastated forests. They're not coming back. And perhaps as concerningly, and this is clearly linked to climate as well, we're starting to see, in places like Alberta, the way to try to stop the pine beetle invasion is literally burning down the forest, to try to stop the beetles from getting into the Canadian boreal forest, which goes all across Canada, across the East Coast, and into New England. So, this is, clearly a situation we don't want to find ourselves in. Now, certainly, we're battling with it now, but 10, 20 years down the line, what the impact of climate is and how that impacts the infestation we've seen and exacerbates it. So I'll just wrap up here, but I do want to, again, urge the Commission to look at the impacts of climate, and again, welcome Mr. Barr, and thank all the Commissioners for their work to protect the comprehensive management plan.
Thank you very much. We'll now close the public portion. Thank you all for coming out and sharing your comments with us. We actually do have a matter that we have to take up, two matters. They're growing by the moment. So we hear a recitation.
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act provides that an organization such as the Pinelands Commission may retire into closed session to discuss matters regarding pending and anticipated litigation, as well as to receive legal advice subject to the attorney-client privilege. Pinelands Commission would now like to retire into closed session to discuss the matters of Murphy versus Medford, as well as the Putnam Turf matter. The outcomes of these discussions will be disclosed when it will no longer prejudice the Commission in the litigation and/or violate the attorney-client privilege.
Thank you, Ms. Chester. May I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion.
Second. Will we be taking any action?
We may.
All right, all in favor of the motion going to closed session? Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, we're officially in closed session.